Hello, and thank you for joining us for CloudRadial's July Updates webinar. We've got a lot of exciting things to show you, including the new CloudRadial Academy and improvements to warranty reporting and broadcast messaging. As always, feel free to submit questions throughout the webinar, and we'll address them towards the end of the presentation. I'm Seth Wilson, Marketing Director here at CloudRadial, and joining me today is our Director of Biz Dev, Ricky Caccini. Straight out of the hospital with a broken arm from a skateboarding accident. How's the arm, Ricky?
The embarrassment of having to tell people that I'm an adult in a skateboarding accident broke my arm is far worse than the physical pain. Thank you, Seth.
Well, I hope you're well enough to tell us about the updates this month.
I am well enough to move. This is a one-handed job, and for that I am thankful. I can do everything one good hand, but I've been telling everyone I talk to, I'm like, I can't physically move very well, but that's okay. So let's take a look at what we're looking at today, guys. Today is pretty cool. Let me share my screen and I'll show you what we got. All right, Seth, can you confirm you can see that okay?
Uh-huh.
Perfect. All right, so we really got three main updates for this month. The first one is a little light touch, a little Favicons, big debate, but they're called Favicons. We figured it out. We're talking about the little thingies that popped up here. Now, previously, you weren't able to change those, and that was kind of a sticking point because people would brand their tenant, they would put their logos up there, and next thing you know, they're like, they can't change that, and it would frustrate them. We got that fixed. So now if you navigate down to your partner dropdown and you hit down to your settings at the very bottom, and you go up to the very old account and branding up top under setup, you have the ability to change some of that, right? So we're going to go over here. Usually this is just the contact info. We're going to hit the branding tab second, and you're going to see that this has been kind of expanded quite a bit, right? So now we've got this whole new chunk right here to set it up. You're going to need a couple of different sizes because they vary in different display options. Obviously, we're going to need PNGs for all of them for background transparency to make it look good. So we have the sizes that are ideal listed in every section. And even for the desktop application itself, you've got an additional option. It used to be that you only had one and it would kind of scale it both for the taskbar and the system tray, but that ended up kind of looking a little bit jagged and a little bit rough. So we've actually added two different versions of them. So if you got a smaller 32 by 32 and a bigger 256, you're gonna end up with a much better resolution and look a lot better. Another big change that is not necessarily listed here, but you guys may have seen this, is that now we only store things on our media library, localized on ours. What happened was we used to allow people to link off to images from anywhere. It would just be, you paste your URL in here and you'd be good to go. We don't do that anymore, not so much for security stuff, which some people assumed, more so because it kept breaking links. People kept putting stuff and kept getting broken. Next thing you know, you get like little JPEGs broken up here and not a good look. So now, from now on, whenever you upload any of these things, just go ahead and click on your media library button up here. You'll get taken straight to your media library, which is found under the partner dropdown still, account, and media up top. And you can see that we've already got some of these loaded up. Now, tenants that start off brand new will still get a Favicon. They'll get the one that we launched with, the CloudRadial default one, so it's not gonna be blank, but just know that you can customize that now. And as a sticking point, sometimes the browser caches kind of weird and it takes a while for it to clear. So just know that, either check a new browser, try to clear your browser settings to make sure it's actually working. It might take a little bit of time, but other than that, pretty solid. Nice new branding feature. Now that's the little stuff. The big stuff, the most important one is training and new processes for doing that, right? For the most part, I've been the trainer in CloudRadial, right? We do fast track sessions, which are guided sessions that walk you through how to do CloudRadial in general, right? From never heard of it all the way to understanding each kind of facet of it. In previous webinars, we've talked about, QBRs and ticketing and all that kind of stuff, and putting it all together is kind of the key. So kind of getting that in a scalable fashion that doesn't rely on just talking to me, right? Whether it's for our Australian friends or our Brits overseas, we've got a lot of different types of clients all over the place that can't really do our 9-to-5s. So to alleviate that, kind of make everything a little bit more scalable, we now have a fully fleshed out academy that covers the fast track pretty perfectly. Any existing CloudRadial customer has access to this, and new customers will get put into that. We're kind of switching it up. It's a lot more flexible. To access this academy, you're going to go down to your partner dropdown yet again, go down to your old trusty account center, and you're going to see that one of the options in here is going to be Academy up top. So when you click on this, you're going to have the option to invite people into the Academy yourself. So you're going to be able to click on invite up here. It's going to spit out a list of people that you've got loaded up within your tenant and send them the invite to the Academy. Now, we've had some trouble every now and then with these that usually it's really good about sending the invite. Sometimes the invite doesn't make it, whether it gets caught in your spam filter or something. So just let us know if you've done this and you haven't gotten anything. We can manually override it for you. Just go ahead and email support@CloudRadial and we'll get that fixed up. But for the most part, works pretty well. So what's going to happen is when you get that Academy set up, you'll be taken to a third-party site, which is where we have it. This is not built into your tenant. It is an actual extra place we have. I have that opened up in another tab, and you will get sent to this thing, which I've built with the rest of the team, with Seth and then our other designer who's not actually here. We've made it a lot prettier.
You did most of it.
I did most of it, one-handed. I definitely finished it right before I broke my hand, thank God. So what we're looking at right here is basically the skeleton of the Academy. And I say skeleton because it is complete, but we will be adding frequently new courses and all the other stuff that's going to be helpful to you guys. CloudRadial evolves a lot, as I'm sure you guys know. I mean, we're in this product update and things change all the time. So as processes change, as buttons move around, we're going to try to be very diligent about making sure that your courses and your lessons actually reflect the latest, so you're not watching months old stuff. Maybe some of you have seen, we already have YouTube videos up, and those are pretty much a little bit outdated too. They're now about 5-6 months old. They're still pretty good. They're still not bad, but honestly, if you want to get the best, latest, and greatest thing, this Academy was refreshed like a week ago. So this is about as latest as you can get. So when you go down, you'll see a couple of different things. Learning paths, what are those? Learning paths are courses stringed together. So if you want to learn how to do the basics in CloudRadial, right, it might require a few different specific courses, or how to do ticketing and stuff. That's also going to be a few specific courses stringed together. And you can actually also select courses individually. But for the first timers, especially if you're trying to get people up to speed and trained on CloudRadial, learning paths are for sure going to be the way to go. Definitely recommend checking those out in order. So the best way to kind of go through this that makes the most sense, and the way we've designed it, is if you click on your go to dashboard, the big orange button right when you get there, you'll see that you have quite a few of these learning paths put up there for you. Now this one's not yet done, I'm still working on it, but these ones labeled LP 1 through 5 are up and ready. And again, they follow the fast track sessions that we've had. They go into a lot of detail. People know I am described, I hope, nicely as a human seizure when I talk, because I'm very quick. So this is hopefully going to slow stuff down for a lot of you guys, right? And you can see that usually in the first fast track we cover 1 and 2, but now it's nice and slow. So if you have team members that perhaps only care about the reporting side, you don't need them sticking in on every single session. They can just do 1 and 2, right? Maybe you got an account manager that just wants to know how to run the QBRs, right? Make them know that I really insist on everyone trying to, do the basics so they understand what CloudRadial is. Maybe just 1 and 4. So it's a lot easier to pick and choose and not waste people's times. Now, when you go through these, right, let's take the ticketing one, for example. You're going to go ahead and click on one. You're going to see all the courses that comprise the learning path. It'll give you a bit of details, and you can see what you've got yourself into, right? You're going to see the problem reports, service requests, question templates, so on and so forth. Some of them are optional, right? Some things are not critical to understanding it, but obviously we recommend going through all of it at least once to get a full understanding of CloudRadial and how it works. So if I go, all right, let's go ahead and start the course. They're all based on new videos. They'll give you a little bit of details. We go, yep, we'll go ahead and start it. It's going to be all within this system, and it's going to be there's quite a few benefits for this. So not only will you have the video to actually show you, it's got highlights and it's got call outs and stuff, so it's a lot more visual than the YouTube videos are. It'll give you a high level of what we're covering, and then once you finish everything, we can kind of continue on with it. It'll even give you a GIF and some practice exercises to give you through kind of like what I did to get up to speed on everything, and how we can really make you become a master of CloudRadial. Some of them even have helpful resources. So for example, for the ticketing one, I know that the launch package that we typically start you off with is a little bit complex, right? I think there's 31 tickets in there. They're very well triaged, but they go pretty deep into it. But if you go over here, we actually have a simplified catalog that you can download. It'll teach you how to import in packages. It's very hand-holdy, basically, through the whole thing. The cool thing about this is, as you complete it, right, we're going to go back to it. We're going to keep going through it. It'll just prompt you to keep going down the chain. Now, if you're doing this and you're running your team members through it, that's cool, but you want to track their progress, and you can do that directly from CloudRadial itself. So I don't believe we don't have anyone in here But if you click on someone, you're going to see that their name is going to pop up here, and you can actually see what courses they've taken, their progress and everything. This is our demo account, so we don't store stuff in here, but it'll be very easy to track and make sure that everyone's doing their due diligence, which is pretty good. And again, we've got a couple of additional things getting loaded up in here. The current kind of growth path for the Academy is just to get the fast tracks out of the way so people can get trained. But eventually, we're going to add a lot kind of more helpful things even after you've been trained on it. So deployment, right? How do you get it out to your clients? What resources are you going to do? Now that this is now scalable for us, we can kind of push people over here and we can kind of support them in many different ways, right? You can still meet with me. You can still chat. The chat options that we have within the Academy still go directly to me. So I'm still the master of training and still our team. It's not going anywhere else. And we just made it more flexible from a time perspective. But after that, right, I mentioned we're going to be more focused on deployment. We want to help you guys kind of take it a little bit further. Like I mentioned, we have a designer who did a great job in kind of getting this stuff up now. We'll be working on creating more helpful and just better visuals for deployment. We're talking about like ticket submission guides or maybe brochures and stuff. So that's coming in the pipeline. So we're going to kind of draft those up. And again, that will likely become a course too. So go, hey, here's how you can deploy out to admins. Here's guides you can give to employees. So that way you don't have to worry so much about how to train the end users themselves. Be pretty good. So yeah, so stay tuned for this one. Definitely join up and take a look. I think it'll email you as well when new courses are added, so you don't have to constantly check. It'll actually be pretty good about that. And that is the second big update that we have. Now, the third one is a little bit different here. So the third one is related to the broadcast functionality in CloudRadial. And actually, it's covered in the training. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about why this is a new update. So broadcasts were definitely a thing before as well, but the fact of the matter is that we had to use a third-party system to do them. It didn't scale terribly well, and it cost us quite a bit to send out these broadcast push notifications. And they were, they're these in-app notifications that do pop-up notices that are really good if you need to get an emergency message out, right? Something like the server's down, or maybe you've got a problem with an internet outage at a site and you wanted to get that message out quickly. Previously, again, we had this service, but it was kind of not so great. Recently, Jeff figured out how to get this thing up and running with a brand new architecture. It works really well, and I'm going to kind of demo it. And later in a future release, we're going to talk about the desktop application and its ramifications with this new broadcast system. Currently, and I'm not going to demo it on this call, but if you do this broadcast, as I'll show you here in a sec, it'll work with a Windows pop-up like toaster notification. And that's cool, especially because we know not everyone's going to be inside CloudRadial at all times to receive that push notification. Jeff has already worked on improving it in that it'll be able to stay and it'll actually pop up as a window, so people have to click on it to dismiss it in Windows. So that makes it a little bit stickier, a little bit more of a aggressive form of communication, but very effective to get out these messages. So let me show you what I'm talking about if you guys don't know what I'm talking about with these broadcasts. So these broadcast messages are controlled using the message function of CloudRadial. Now, typically, messages are sent from the company area and the messages drop down. This message area has a bunch of different usage. At its very most basic, kind of like you're looking at now, it is a simple in-app messaging system, right? So you can send updates to your clients one by one, right? I'm doing it just for digital efforts in this case. I add a new message and I post a message. There's nothing really too special about that. It will show up. But to elevate that, right, we're going to take it a step further, and we're going to send a broadcast message to post it in here, but also emergency. There's always different needs for different types of communications, right? This is really meant for the emergency. So you'll see that you're still going to do kind of like you're about to write a message in here. You're going to follow through with everything, right? I can say, oh, company updates or service updates. Forgive my one hand broken arm thing. I've been doing this all week though, so pretty good. Test, right? I go through, I can write my message. And if I just hit post without modifying anything, this is just going to post a message for the company in here. Simple. Now, if I have this little button right here, send as broadcast, it'll tell you right underneath here, the message will be sent immediately to all logged in users. Again, that's going to be just for the digital efforts client. For those familiar with CloudRadial, you can also choose which user group it's going to go to if you like. So if you wanted to make sure that it's going only to certain types of users, you can certainly do that. By default, this broadcast notification will go to everyone in the given company. So if I go through it and I say, hey, yes, send as broadcast, what's going to happen is it's going to take out some of the more light and fluffy and airy and playful communication things, right? Typically with messages, when you post a message in the portal, not only can you post it, but you can also future date it. You can choose exactly when it's going to be published, and you can write as much stuff as you want in here using visual cues, right? You can put embedded videos and images and all that kind of stuff to make the messages really pop out. Broadcasts are not that way, right? We're going to hit send as broadcast, and you're going to see that a couple things change right off the bat. So the publish date goes away instantly because, again, it is a emergency message or something you need to get out immediately. And the article, the field to write the article also changes dramatically. It kind of goes away with that visual editor, and it becomes almost like a tweet, almost like a short, get to the point, 200 character limit on this message. And again, because it is meant to adhere to both the Windows pop-up notifications that it sticks into, and also it has to fit into a push notification that's up here. And you'll see what that looks like in a sec. So, hey, test broadcast. There we go. Another thing that can come in handy is also priorities. These are just a little toggle right here. If you change it from normal is going to do a white push notification, real simple. If you do medium and high, it'll basically turn it to yellow or red. So depending on the severity, you can color code it, make sure people really see it. So let's send that a high priority one. So the moment I hit submit, right, I talk a lot, as most people know, but there's really not much to this. You write it down, you hit broadcast, you fire it off, and that thing is gone. It's going to fire it off to everybody in that company. So I'll do that, submit, and you're going to see that, bam, sure enough, right? You see that in my message area itself, I've got my test message with the little red star because I put it as a high priority item. At the top, you've got my test broadcast with a click to open. What's nice about it in app is that as I navigate around other areas, let's say I'm actively trying to ignore it, nope, there it is. It goes away. So it takes a bit for you to actually get it out of the way. You have to really try to not see that thing, right? And again, with the new revision of the desktop application, the limitations on this, as I mentioned, is that they have to be in app to see that. But when they're in the desktop app, right, much easier, much more aggressive form of this communication. This is the most common use case for it, right? So if you need to communicate to any given clients in CloudRadial, you know that you can access your client list under your partner clients area, right? And we've got a couple of test ones. I've got my All Smiles Dental Clinic, same idea. I need to get a message out to them. I'm going to go ahead and impersonate them, get into their account, and go to their same exact area. I'm going to go to their messages, and I'm going to post a broadcast message exactly like we did. And that'll work just the same. Now, that's cool, but how do you get a broadcast message out en masse? Because sometimes there's a need also for a mass broadcast notification system, especially to multiple groups. That is not going to be handled company by company. For broadcasts, they need to go out to a vast number of companies at once. You're not going to do it from the company messages area. You're actually going to do it from the partner dropdown. That's pretty typical for CloudRadial. For those of you savvy with it, you know that generally speaking in CloudRadial, when you're in a given account like Digital Efforts or All Smiles or whatever, all the feature set items right here are going to be localized to that one client, but the partner area is generally speaking the global area. So it follows the same logic. Local and company messages, global and partner. So partner marketing is where we've stuffed that feature right there. So if you go to your partner marketing, we've got a marketing list option, which is also part of the communication discussion, which is covered in the Academy, but we have broadcasts up here too. And from here, you can see these broadcast notifications, and you can also send out additional ones. So if I click on send at the top, you can see you've got the broad fields, right? So you've got the same exact fields, you've got the option to choose who it posts from, and then you've got your user group and company group selection. So rather than just doing it for Digital Efforts, I want this one to go to everyone in every company if you want it to go absolute crazy. Now, again, common use case for this is if you're trying to get out a message about an emergency. So there's not as much usage in this for global versions as there is for local versions, but there's still plenty of usage for maybe you need to get out a message to the admins of your Office 365 companies about a big change or something that needs to be accepted. So this is still very useful, albeit less useful than the individual change too. An interesting facet of this is I get a lot of questions going like, well, can I see who read it? Can I see these? Is there read receipts on it? And there actually are. So in the message history, I'm sorry, not message history. We're going to go back to the messages. My brain went automatic on that one. When I click on company messages and I click on a message I sent out, you'll see that you have an option for history. So you can actually see the users that it went to and who clicked on it. So you can see that I played myself. I clicked on it, I saw it right here. So you can actually ensure that people are reading these, and you can come back and make sure that you're getting a full communication strategy. Now, again, broadcasts are not meant to live in a bubble. This is not a broadcasting tool. It's meant to be a part of a communication strategy. And we cover that in the communications session of our fast track. And we talk about how CloudRadial is not a marketing tool. It is not a communication tool, but that's a natural part of account management. So it does a bit of both. Like I mentioned initially, you can post messages in the portal and they'll just sit here and people have to click on them and read them. That's it. Broadcasts are a step above that, and they're a way to reach out a little bit more aggressively to make sure your message is being heard. The daily digest is kind of the cousin of the broadcast. It lives in the same area. So if you click on add, you'll see that there is an option right next to it to send something to a daily digest. What this is going to do is it's a step kind of less than broadcast, but more than message. If you wanted to send a message in their portal, but ensure that it actually gets out to the user's real email address, this will do it. This will actually make sure that one day after you post it in the portal, it'll deliver to their actual email addresses. And this is kind of an interesting use case because you've got kind of a wider range of spectrum of communication abilities in the portal, right? You can kind of choose how much effort and how severe you need them to read this message, or how severely you need them to acknowledge the message in the first place. So kind of some interesting things there. And then, between the daily digest, which is again the recap message, the broadcast, and the plain posting, there's always room for failure. That's not pessimistic, but there's always something that could go wrong. So that's why we're also very nice about playing with additional third-party marketing tools, right? You have all the information loaded up in here, and generally speaking, like we just saw, we're using our own built-in company groups and user groups that you've defined throughout setting up CloudRadial. That's just kind of something that happens as you just build it out. Still, we can use that information that you've got imported from your PSA and from Office 365 to pull marketing lists in that same area I was just at. So if I go to partner.
Yeah. When I was a marketing director at an MSP, getting a simple mailing list out of ConnectWise was like a week-long project. This speeds it up to like 10 minutes.
Yeah, and again, it's like, forgive me, guys, I'm too familiar with it. I jump around very quickly, but the core point is that really anything under messages is focused on all the stuff you've got loaded up in there, whether it's broadcasts or daily digests or messages themselves. Here, like Seth's saying, it's kind of a pain to pull it out of places, and you've already got it imported in here. So from the marketing list function itself, right, I can add a marketing list using those same groups I've cut up, right? So I can say, give me a list of admins in every single company, or my marketing people and my legal companies and stuff. So you can build very detailed lists using this. And this is not to demo this, because obviously that's not what this update's about. This is really about the broadcast, just to say that the broadcasts are a part of a greater communication strategy. And we cover really all of that in the fourth session of the Academy right here. So if we go to the dashboard, right, and we go, what was he talking about? Talks pretty quick. Communications, you're going to see that there is desktop app, messages, broadcast, and daily digest. These three really all kind of live together. So if you do this, it's definitely worth it to understand them. The good news, and I'll talk about this as well, is that if you see this and you're kind of fearful, because I know that as people explore CloudRadial, it's natural to want to just jump down kind of line item, right? You start clicking through and you try to understand. It's how a lot of people consume this. The good news is that you can't accidentally send out a broadcast. I mean, it really takes effort. You saw that it was in a message. I had to click on messages, then I have to click on add, and then I have to toggle a button to send it, right? So it's already kind of gated. But even more so, we don't want you to send out either emails from CloudRadial accidentally or broadcast messages. So we have a fail-safe in place before you kind of set everything up, and I want to cover that for those watching this. To first turn it on for clients, you're going to have to go to your partner clients area, and you'll see, if anyone has ever wondered what this means, when you first look at your client list, there are two fields right here for email and broadcast, and this is roughly their eligibility to receive that daily digest email and broadcast notifications. So if you have these turned off for people, no matter what, they won't get these. So you can't accidentally shoot one out, you can't accidentally spam it. Very important. And if you want to turn them on or off, right, just click your edit all button. If you go, I know what that does, and I never want that to accidentally happen, and go, no problem. Click on a client, right, or multiple, click on the communications tab, and you can basically turn it on or off for them. And that's pretty much it, right? So that way you can play around with it. I recommend, if you're going to start playing around with the broadcast, which we encourage you, again, this is now free. It does not cost anything. We figured out how to do this scalably with our own architecture, so it's absolutely up to you on how you want to play with it. Let us know. It's relatively new. Again, it's not a brand new feature because we had it before, but this architecture is new. It should work pretty well. So we're looking for feedback on it and how to make it more helpful and more effective in general. Okay, let's see. I gotta rack my brain for any other things. I knew going into this, Seth and I discussed, we're like, it's gonna be a short one, but at the same time, I feel like there's no problem not stretching it out forever. What do you think, Seth?
Yeah, no, it's fine. We got some questions, kind of some main themes were in the questions. One was, what was the academy for, end users or MSPs? And yeah, it's very much for our partners to learn how to use CloudRadial and provide the best experience possible for their clients. Got some love in the chat. Really appreciate it, guys. But, we appreciate you guys right back. This product really is built by our partners. Jeff might disagree a little bit, but but as far as how the tool works, and I mean he just makes it all happen and stays up late nights, coding, whatever. But no, you guys really do show us how to build the tool properly, and we really appreciate that. And the advocacy that you guys show us on Reddit and Tech Tribe and the various forums, we really appreciate it. Let's see. And there was also a couple questions about training end users. So, great to train the MSPs, asking for some content, some video content, maybe some white label video content on how to get their end users trained up on the portal. And I think that's a great idea. Do you have any resources currently?
No, we don't have any video resources currently, so I'll refer you to what we usually do, although I do have a comment on that in general, right? So usually when people ask me about training and how do we get people kind of out the door right now, we have this. We have the deployment blueprint, which I think we can is there any way for me to disseminate a link to this after? I guess we can put it in like a description on YouTube.
Yeah, I think we can send it in the follow-up email.
Yeah, so this is our typical, hang on, let me do a one-handed zoom out.
It's also, I believe, in the product update email that we sent out earlier, like last week.
So for those of you that have not seen this, this should be beneficial. I mean, this is kind of like the master architecture blueprint, obviously, of how you get CloudRadial from never heard of it, to my clients actually use it, right? There's a lot of this broken up over 5 stages, which is really the 5 stages of implementing and deploying CloudRadial. The first one over here is the onboarding itself, right? So getting trained up on the product, which is really where the I'm sorry, this is just if the product is worth it for you. So never mind. Most of the people here are probably into this anyway, so otherwise they wouldn't be joining our product update webinar. The second one is training, right? So how do you actually get the portal set up? This is where the academy is very beneficial. Now, to answer the question of how do you get your clients trained up, that's really where 3 and 4 come in, because a critical stage of CloudRadial that we know is kind of our weak spot is like, we have all these great resources for MSPs and they talk to us and they can kind of go back and forth and we're pretty easy to get a hold of, but the clients, right, or the companies beneath the MSPs have a harder time. So we have a bunch of resources in here that can help. So for example, if you're trying to get the portal up and running, right, you may know how to do it, but your clients know how to submit tickets. We've got stuff like ticket submission guides, and these are white labeled, so you can put your logo on here, or like portal overviews, or we've got stuff like flyers and company presentations. And I click on one to demonstrate, right? You click on it, it's going to go ahead and download it. I believe it's doing it somewhere on there it is. My publisher file here, you see I've got 37 of those downloaded. Pretty good. And this is kind of what we have initially to kind of get that out the door for you, right? So there's some documentation in here to help them learn it. Now, we've also got some launch emails and stuff in here. So this is generally worth a look to at least get the first stage of, hey, I want to show you something. To answer the question of, are we going to do videos? The plan is very much to do that. We know that it's a lot easier for people to consume videos. Right now, we're kind of at the stage where we're comfortable with you presenting some of the stuff that we've created because we know, we obviously assume you're going to be using every single facet of CloudRadial. So a lot of those screenshots have the entire feature set turned on. You can always go back and kind of trim it as you need. But generally speaking, yeah, those are going to cover it. The videos are a little bit trickier, right? Because white labeling videos, making sure that, when we show them how to do certain things works. I think the plan, and this is up to me and the designer, we're actually designing this out. The plan is to kind of design this in a way that we might have a section for them, or we might give this to you in pure video files so you can just put something or maybe embed it into a PowerPoint. Very much yes, but it's in its infancy stages. It's something we thought about doing even for the blueprint, but it turned out to be kind of a tough logistically. I think now that we've unlocked the academy and we can at least train you guys, we can focus our attention on training the clients, because that's always been kind of a pain point, is how do you get people up to speed on it. So stay tuned for that. We've got updates for it soon.
Cool. Okay, well that concludes this session. Thank you everybody for joining us and taking the time to look at our July updates for Cloud Radial. This video will be uploaded if you want to show it to the rest of your team or somebody else on YouTube here later today. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, be sure to at youtube.com/cloudradial to stay up to date on all of our updates. But you guys have a good rest of your July, and we'll be back with you coming up here on July 23rd with another webinar. We'll let you know about it.
Thanks, guys.